I'm starting off on the video segment of this 2010 Lexus IS 250 C. And typically what I start off is I'll do a walk around, I'll do paint meter readings, what we're checking for any signs of repaint, hidden damage, workmanship issues, cosmetic blemishes, anything that I can point out while I do this walk around. So we'll start off with the front bumper here. And just what I like to do is just do a couple little taps here. Everything seems to be secure, nothing too rattly. Good. I look at the lenses as well. Check for cloudiness because with these plastic lenses, that's common to where they get a little cloudy. I don't see any cracks or any chips, so that looks pretty good. Looking at the grill, all intact. Vanes are nicely secured. Again, left side lens looks good. Nothing shaking loose. Good. We're going to start off with some hood panel readings. This meter here reads in the mils, so that's 3.5, and what we want to see is some consistency. So so from 3 to 4.5, that's really nothing actually. So the typical factory paint work that I see is anywhere from 3.5 to 6. Okay, just some little rock chips. It's like, oh man, it's not even the size of, it's just like a little over the size of a pinhead there. And then there's just some real light ones here. It's to be expected on these used cars that have been driven right on the road. There's really nothing you can do about it as far as not getting them unless you use a clear bra. But anyways, fender 4, 4.5, and 4. We're getting some great readings so far. Looking at the windshield, I wiped it down. The car was dusty, so I did wipe it down as best as I can, because I know even with the light coating and dust, I can't see all the little cosmetic imperfections or if there's any issues with the workmanship. But so far, again, it looks good. I've already got a screenshot of the public VIN, and also while I'm here, I like to get a shot of the upper dash area. And what I'm looking for are any cosmetic imperfections or even defects in workmanship or materials as a result of the build. But so far, nothing is really standing out. Quick shot of the pillar, 3.5 and 3.5. Now, before I get to the door, I always like to get a quick shot of the inner wheel well, and what I'm looking for here is to see if the wheels have kicked up anything or debris, any type of damage, any little red flag that I can pick up on, and that way I can look in a little deeper. But so far, nothing is grabbing my attention here. So, all right, and then we got the left front wheel. It's a 225/40 ZR18 92Y is the speed rating on this, and I always like to look for the date of manufacturer as well. This one looks like it was manufactured on the 19th week of 2017. Outside tires, don't see any obvious sidewall damage. Looking at the rims as well, no curb rash, and everything seems to be in order. Quick shot of the brake rotor. I can run my finger across this. It feels even, smooth to the touch, no grooves, no lip, so that's good. And here's a quick shot of the brake pad. Looks pretty thick. Typically, brake pads, they're around 10 millimeters, so that one, 10 to 12, somewhere around there. So that one looks like it's been recently replaced. While I'm down here, I like to get a side view of the exterior panels. And what I use is the reflections off the panels. I'll find a hard line somewhere and see if that line distorts at all. Right, and that's a good way of picking up on dents, dings, and signs of waviness. If it's got that mirror-like finish, then that's fantastic, right? So far, so good. I always look at the outside mirror for any types of scratches because they do have a tendency of getting beat up sometimes. Looks pretty good, lens good, nice. Let's get some, before I go to the door, glass again, no obvious scratches or chips. Did some door readings, 4 and 4.5, good and solid. I always like to check right here. As you can see, without the gloves, my nails can easily scratch the paint here. Sometimes I see them gouged up pretty good, but this one looks in decent shape. Glass again looks good. A quick view of the top of the hood. And let's get some more paint meter readings. 4, 4, 4, 4. See the gas door. 3. Okay. So far solid. Left rear wheel well area. At any point, if the video seems to move a little too fast, you always have the option of just pressing pause if you need to get a still image of what it is that you want to see. All right, starting with the outside tire, 255/40 ZR18s. Let's see, manufactured on the 10th week of 2017. And let's see if we can spot the DOT number here. I'm sure it's right in front of me. Yep. Oh, I already did that already. Sorry about that. Okay, and then as far as the rims, just a little bit of curb rash there. I really didn't notice it the first time around, but I'm literally standing, 8 inches away from it now. So that's how I noticed it. Okay. Again, the rotor looks smooth. And then here's a shot of the brake pad. Let me try a different angle here, see if I can get it. So yeah, so brake pads look pretty good. All right, I'm gonna turn around here and just do one more side panel view from the back side. And I like to just kind of move the camera around a little bit and change the angle a little bit. And I still have to review this when I'm back at my desk as well. I do a full photo analysis and video review just in case I may have missed something here while I was out in the field. Okay. The paint is smooth to the touch. It's got a nice luster to it as well. There's some spotting, but I think it's just it looks like just hard water spots. I'm sure once they deliver the car or do the pre-delivery inspection, they'll probably do a nice detail for you. Defroster lines look good. Don't see any broken lines there. And another view from the back. Whoops. Looking here, lens is good. Bumper, typically these get a little banged up. Looks decent. Let's get a couple of readings here. 4.5, 4.5, 4.5. So far it appears to have the original paintwork, which is nice. So that's a huge plus. 4, 3.5, and 4. Good. Right rear wheel well. Again, if it moves too fast, just press pause. All right, and outside tire, no obvious signs of damage. 255/40 ZR18s. Just a little curb rash right there. Rotors look smooth. And let's get a shot of the brake pad if I can. All right. Okay, and then let's do a rear a panel view from the rear. Again, just pick a reflection in as a hard line, and then just see if it distorts anywhere. So far I'm not picking up on anything. Glass again looks decent. No scratches, no chips, no crazy scratch marks here. Let's get the door readings. 4. 4.5, outside mirror, nicely secured, no scrapes. Let's do a view of the roof before we take a look at the windshield. And windshield here from this view here, not seeing any obvious cracks. Right? I think it's just a minor little rock chip there, but I had to work it a little bit. And then a view of the dash, and I'll be testing the operation of the windshield wipers, of course. To get the fender readings. If I think I got them, but if not, here they are. 4. And just do the final view of the right front wheel well area. Nice shot of the strut assembly. All right, and we got the right front tire, no obvious sidewall damage. 255/40 ZR18s. Rims, looks like there's no obvious signs of curb rash. Rotors look nicely machined or smooth. And then here's a quick shot of the brake pad if it comes out. Yep, that's a good shot of it. And I'm going to go ahead and just push back a little bit before moving on to the next segment. Here on the startup segment, what I do here is I'll start the vehicle up. That way you can experience what I am. We can listen to the way it starts. If it's quick and easy and idles well, we'll watch the idle. Also, what I like to capture is to make sure that all the lights turn on, meaning those warning lights that would come on if there was an issue with the brakes, with the check engine light, airbag, those type of lights. So we should see them all illuminate as a self-diagnosis type of visual, right? And then once the engine runs, and it does its diagnostic self-check, and if there's no issues, then those lights should clear out. If a light remains on, then we know there's something going on. But in addition to this, I'll still run the scanner on here and check for all faults. But here we go. So this fired right up here. I see a bunch of lights coming on, and I'll have to review that later because it happens so quick. Looks like we're already low on fuel, so our test drive will be interesting. Let's see here. The RPM is a little high right now, but that's just on initial startup. So we'll see if that drops at all, which it should. Also, I do notice that the tire warning indicator is flashing. So that's something to be mindful of and have them look into so they can have the answers for you. So the idle did drop. It's below 1,000. And what we'll do is all the lights cleared out. The odometer reading is at 49,818. What we'll do now is we're going to walk towards the rear of the car and then take a look at the exhaust. What we don't want to see is black, blue, gray, or white smoke, because that all means something with the engine internally. It should be burning clean. Especially for a newer car, even though 2010, that's still relatively new for me. But if we see some water or condensation, that's okay. I typically expect that, but that also should clear up as well. So I'll be sure to keep an eye on that if that's the case. And also mindful of the coolant gauge. I'll take another look at that before I stop the video on this segment here. And so making our way towards the rear of the vehicle, and when I get back there, we'll look at the exhaust, and then I'll get a close-up of it as well, and then I'm going to stay quiet because we're going to listen for any misfiring, right? Any issues there. So just looking at the back here, I see some I don't even consider it smoke. Let me dial in a little bit here, and I can see how it's just kind of what's doing to the chrome. So that looks just like condensation to me. I don't see any excess soot out of the exhaust pipe. That's something else that I look for. And now I'm going to stay quiet here for a second or two. All right, so I'm not hearing any misfires or any rough running conditions. So far so good. It's a dual exhaust, so let's make our way towards the rear. And again, I'll make sure that the condensation does clear up. Again, not picking up on any abnormal noises. Going towards the front of the front of the vehicle. Before we dive exactly into the engine, I do look at the underside of the hood panel. We want to make sure that the shocks do support the weight of the hood. I also capture the sticker, the emission sticker, to make sure that the date matches that of the production of the car. That needs to jive, for a lack of a technical term there. Also, I look at the underside panel. This insulation or sound barrier, I check to make sure that it's okay, because in some cases I've seen where rodents like to nest in the engine bay area. They like to chew at this for whatever reason, and if I see that, then that's a huge red flag already. But if not, I still do my due diligence. I'll get in there, even though our view is limited because of all the covers. Luckily, I am able to remove this easily, so I did do that. But I get in there with my light, and I check all the little dark crevices, right, dark corners, to do as best as I can. And what I'm looking for is anything obvious, the oil leaks, any damage to the components, and obviously any signs of rodent damage, chewed up wires or hoses, or nesting, right? Nesting would be the easiest way. If I saw nesting, I literally would want to pull the engine out. Okay, so, and also I've got a nice shot of the engine belt down there when it wasn't running. I looked at the oil, didn't see any signs of cross-contamination. I also pulled the oil cap, looked in there, and the internal engine of the cylinder head looked pretty clean. Brake fluid looks like it's a nice tan color, kind of dark, so I captured the side view of it with the sun hitting it, right? So, yeah, because it's just too tight with all the covers. All right, and then I also perform a battery check to see what kind of how healthy that is, charging system, and starting a startup. The battery looks, it looks new to me, but they didn't remove the stickers there, so we don't know when it's been removed. But I did check it. Looks like it is good, but needs a recharge. Getting that recharge indication is something I typically don't worry about, because I know This car sitting in a dealer's inventory. They're not driven on a daily basis. They sometimes can sit for days, weeks, or even months. I don't know how long they've had it in an inventory, but that's typical what I would see there. We just want to make sure that it is a good battery that can be recharged. So looking good. The starter test cranking was normal. I didn't hear any abnormal noises when I started up and fired right up, so I definitely agree with that. And the charging test is showing that it is charging as it should. All right. One final pushback here. I'm gonna tie it in a little bit. I'll stay quiet, and we're just gonna listen to the engine for a second or two. All right. In doing so, I didn't hear any abnormal noises coming from the bottom or the top end of the engine. There's going to be a little ticking noise, and it typically sounds a little louder through the video than what I'm experiencing. But the ticking noise is coming from the fuel injectors, just doing their thing. And let's take one look at the last look at the cooling gauge, and I'll actually keep an eye on it. But as far as capturing it on video here, all right. So it is rising. It's about a quarter right now. And so what I do now is once I stop this segment with the startup and the engine view and what have you, what I do now is I'll shut everything down, the hood, remove my testing equipment, and I'm going to let it idle out here for about 10 to 15 minutes to see if it overheats. I try to put it through its worst conditions given the limited time that I have with the car. And so it's going to idle for 15, 20 minutes while I still check the rest of it. That way, it does two things. One, it gets the engine at the proper operating temperature when we go on the road test, and lastly, it actually heat soaks the suspension. So that way, if there's any like loose components, maybe we could pick that up on the course of the road test when I go over bumps or even normal driving conditions. Yep. All right, so we're operating the top now. I know we had a little trouble there because we had to make sure that this was properly secured, but it does work, and I'll just capture this on video. I have an assistant here today, so I thought I'd take advantage, and I typically don't get this on video. The operation is smooth and seamless, and all the way down. All right, I'll continue on. All right, so we've been road testing here for a couple of miles already. At reaching higher speeds, I don't see the steering wheel shimmy. No, we're going to come to a stop now, and I'm checking for brake pulsation. He's got his hands off the steering wheel, so that way we can see that it doesn't pull to the left or to the right. It's stopping pretty straight, so we're not seeing any issues there. And again, I'm not feeling a shimmy at any rate. The transmission was shifting seamlessly. I'll talk a little bit more. Hopefully the light turns green here, and then we'll just kind of go through the gears. Are you able to do it manual?
You want me to do it manual?
Yeah. Yeah, so we've been driving in drive, so now we're gonna go manual shifting, see how well it does, and here we go. I'll stay quiet. All right, so I've got up to fifth gear. We've got a reasonable speed, and actually now the braking to be a little bit more aggressive, which is kind of nice. And again, it's just stopping rock solid. I've already checked all the electronics, windshield wipers, horn, AC, heater, that's all working. Navigation's been operating. Radio works. What else? Power top, that's worked without issue once we learned how to position the cover to get it taken off. There were some faults in the control unit that I saw, and I'll have to review those as well, and I'll be sure to comment on that while doing the reports, and I will head back to the dealership and wrap it up.